Did you take us live 10 seconds early, Dan?
Hype.
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 I'm on my phone. This is the pre-show to the pre-show. Okay, now that 10 seconds have passed, that's the end of the pre-show to the pre-show. Now it's just the pre-show, Ty. How you doing?
I'm good. I am excited. I am hype. I think, as the kids are calling it, for playoff semifinal numero uno between Alabama and Cincinnati. How about yourself?
I'm hyped as well. I'm really pumped. It feels weird to be on the West Coast where I just had breakfast and the playoff is starting shortly, so it's a different experience. But damn, am I ready, Ty? I am ready. I mean, I watched a little bit of the games this morning. I've been watching the games these past few days, but we have to talk Alabama Cincinnati. We need to talk, I don't know, Bryce Young, Sauce Gardner, Myjai Sanders, Evan Neal. Where do you want to what's getting you juiced about this? What's getting you hyped?
I am fired up for this game. You know, I was one of the biggest proponents of a playoff system long before they ever instituted one. Now that it's here, I understand in many cases the shine has been removed because it's a lot of the same teams all the time. But this year we have an awesome circumstance in that we've got two new teams, one team that I think is sort of the darling of the ball in Cincinnati, being so the first time a group of five team has made it through. Michigan obviously looking to reclaim former glory with one Jim Harbaugh. Those storylines in and of themselves make those teams very easy to root for. So I am excited just to see them in action. I am hopeful that we're not going to have a repeat of what we've seen in some recent games where it's just straight up blowouts in the playoffs. I'm hopeful that we won't see that in either of these two games, but obviously a lot remains to be seen. I am excited. I am hyped to talk about some of the point spreads and some of the bets that I've seen out there because, you know, that's sort of my beat. I get into it. And I've been doing pretty well in bowl season so far, so I'm gonna go back to the well a little bit here. I'm excited as always to do this stream with you. We've got people tuning in. If you're new to the show, if you're new to the YouTube channel, please do hit subscribe and the bell so that you get all of our college football videos as we post them. You can also find links down below to the podcast. Forballers.com is where you can go if you want to get access to, of course, the Patreon community that we've been building over the last year and a half. But a lot of exciting things going on today, man. I'm pumped. Let's do it.
Yeah. Oh, it's the best. The best. My question to you is the question that I think is on everybody's mind who is somewhat of a neutral observer or a Cincinnati fan, or I guess an Alabama fan on a certain level, is you're the architect. I don't have my soundboard at the ready, but if you're building a Cincinnati win, what does that look like as a 2-touchdown-ish dog? What types of breaks do they need? Do they need breaks? Are they good enough to just beat Alabama straight up, playing their best possible game on both sides of the ball? In your mind, Cincinnati wins this game if they're able to take care of what?
Well, Des Ridder can't do anything dumb with the ball.
Yeah.
And over his storied career now at Cincinnati, there have been moments, maybe not as many this year, but we've seen a couple of those come and go where Des Ridder does something dumb. And so he can't do anything dumb when you're playing against Alabama in a college football playoff semifinal. It's just not going to bode well. Cincinnati is in an interesting spot because all too often we have a group of five teams get to a big game, right? Be it a bowl game, be it a championship game of some sort. And we talk about defense and how the team lacks on defense. They don't have the guns on defense. Cincinnati's got two shutdown corners, a first-round pass rusher, and an all-around good defense. They're very good on that side of the football. Where they don't have quite the spark of an Alabama, as anybody in college football does not, is on offense. They have players. They have Des Ridder, who could be a high draft pick. They've got Jerome Ford, who's an Alabama transfer. And, you know, they've got some weapons out wide, but they're certainly not as deep on the offensive side of the ball. So I think if I'm
guys versus dudes, right?
Yeah, to some extent. And so I think if I am trying to architect a win for Cincinnati, first and foremost, it requires Kobe Bryant, Sauce Gardner, those two shutdown corners, to actually do the shutting down in the passing game. Somebody's got to take away Jameson Williams, because we saw in the Auburn game, when you take away Jameson Williams, either by your volition or his own volition via the targeting call, it changes the complexion of the game. So if he's not taking the top off the defense, that changes the complexion of things a little bit. I think that's a must if Cincinnati's going to win this game. They got to find a way to take him away. And I think they also need to find a way to get home with Bryce Young. Like it's hard to do that and hard to take him out of rhythm because we saw it in the Georgia game. Georgia maybe was a little late getting home and trying to get him off schedule.
Yeah.
But even still, Bryce Young was just so good at moving around in the pocket and creating his own space that it was to no avail. Cincinnati's got to find a way to take him out of sync. And I don't know how you do that. We did see moments again from Alabama's offensive line in that Auburn game, especially where the right side of the line really did not come to play. So I think Cincinnati needs to try and do a better job of taking advantage of that in a way that Georgia could not. Can they do that? That will be the operative question. But if they can take away the weapons on offense, if they can get to Bryce Young, if they can get some of their own scoring and not do anything dumb with the football, a lot of ifs there. I think that's how I begin to architect the win for Cincy.
Has Alabama lost a semi game since the Ohio State in the opening playoff 2014, 15? Maybe I'm missing something. I don't feel like they have. Have they?
Yeah,
if you're going back and looking at it, like they have come prepared for this specific stage year in and year out. They're doing with the Heisman Trophy winner once again for the second straight year. And so it's difficult to see. It's difficult for me if I'm going to be a believer in that winter wonder thing where it's just like, okay, you can win a ton of games and get to an amazing place without a superstar receiver or set of receivers. But once you're there, what can you do to change things? And it's not just getting open deep, right? It's taking an 8-yard pass and turning it into a 74-yard pass. All due respect to the Notre Dame defense and what they attempted to do against Devontae Smith last year. That's a winter wonder. And it's the difference maker. It's single-handedly making those plays. That's what worries me about Cincinnati and doesn't get me over the top. I think the defense is a good enough defense to win this game. Watch Cincinnati give up 45 now. But I still believe it's a good enough defense to win this game. And the best of Desmond Ridder is a good enough quarterback to put Cincinnati in position to win this game. But the thing is, on the margin, Cincinnati's just not there. I have it 31-24 or 28-17. Somewhere in that 7-10 region. I have them covering because what could be a great defense on a neutral field, I'm going to take those points if it's double digit. And the worst of Alabama still scares me because of what we saw from them, at least away from home this season, with LSU, with Auburn, with Texas A&M. It's a little bit worrisome that the offensive line issues crept up that late into the season, but I can't get over the top with this Cincinnati offense at this point. And so that's where I'm at. And look, common opponent, I guess, right? Cincinnati at Houston in the American Championship game, and then Auburn lost to Houston in a bowl game for whatever that's worth, which is a medium amount, but not a lot. I can't build that case. I can't build the case short of 14 points off of turnovers. Not necessarily 2 pick sixes or a pick six and a scoop and score, but much in the way Cincinnati beat Notre Dame, all of a sudden getting a 14-yard field from a turnover. That, and Bryce Young doesn't turn it over that much. That to me is a difference for an Alabama team that honestly they run the ball fine.
Yeah.
Taking a step back on the ground. So that changes a little bit of it for me. I'm going to take those points.
Yeah, I'm looking at the point spread now. If you see me looking down, it's not for lack of interest in anything you've said.
No, I'm looking at the comments coming in. Yeah.
Right now, it depends on where you look, but I see it at DraftKings at 13. So some folks have been hammering Cincinnati. I see it at 13.5 on FanDuel. So there's been some late action on Cincinnati, and I tend to agree with you. I feel, and I've said this before, and again, this lives on the internet forever. So forgive me if
we
I'm
will
wrong
delete
about
it
this.
Immediately after.
We could delete it immediately.
Well, it has no relevance. Our Cincinnati Alabama preview.
Well, exactly. Yeah. I feel much more confident in the outcome in the point spread of the second game than I do this first game. It feels like there are more variables here that could go a bunch of different directions that could impact this one. And especially when you've got a good team in Cincinnati, like they're not any better or worse than anybody else this year, right? It's a good team. They're solid. They deserve to be here. When they're getting that many points, that freaks me out a little bit. Even against a team like Alabama, Alabama's had moments this year. This is not Alabama from 2 years ago. This is an Alabama team that has shown some weakness on occasion. Not with any great regularity, otherwise they wouldn't be the number one team in the country.
Right.
But that kind of freaks me out. Now, the fact that this dipped down to 13, I was going to jump on Cincinnati plus 14 or 14.5, which is what I saw it at earlier. What I'm going to do is I am now going to wait. I'm going to wait until the game kicks off, until some of the live lines start going. And at that point, maybe we do the in-game thing, because again,
what's the juiciest in-game scenario for you? Cincinnati scoring right away, going up 7-0?
the juiciest in-game scenario for me is Alabama scoring right away.
Mm.
Because if Alabama scores right away, that live line probably ticks up to 17 or 18.
Yeah.
And if they score quickly, that doesn't necessarily impact the line otherwise. It's going to be like an algorithm thing, and it's going to jump. So at that point, that would be when I would get in on Cincinnati. The one bet that I really did like, and it's not available everywhere, but in some cases you can go out and you can do game props. And there was one that doesn't appear to be available anymore, where you could bet over 16 and a half yards for the Alabama tight end whose name I can't pronounce. Cameron
Latu.
Thank you. Cameron Latu. Over under 16 and a half yards. So they've got the injury to John Mechie, who's not going to be playing in this game. Obviously had the knee damage. They've got plenty of talent that can fill in, but Jameson Williams is clearly the focal point. And we've seen in big game scenarios before Alabama take advantage of that tight end, where doesn't necessarily have a whole lot of work throughout the course of the year. In Latu's case, he's got 6 touchdowns, 20 receptions, close to 300 yards. I could see that being a play in this game. It's not available everywhere, but that was something I was looking at a little bit earlier.
That's interesting. I'm not going to be wagering this game, especially since I'm in California, where such a thing is not legal and not readily available on a mobile app or otherwise. But I'm with you. I'm with you to pay close attention to that. If you're a degenerate like Ty, that's where the eyeball should be.
I will be on our Verballer Discord, which again, verballers.com. Go check out the Patreon. I will be on there either on the text chat or the voice chat somewhere throughout the course of this game. You and I are going to be doing stuff all evening. Yep. But I will be watching these live lines like a hawk because they are very interesting to me. And I don't normally advise doing it on a play-by-play basis because you can lose a lot of money. But when it drastically shifts the point spread in one direction or another and you get a favorable line, that's when it becomes interesting. So we'll keep an eye on that and much, much more as we go through the game. But I think I'm with you. If I could get it at 14 and a half right now, I would. How do you feel about the over-under of 57 and a half?
Man, it's okay. So it's indoors, so we have no elements. We're in Dallas, correct? Or North Texas?
Yep.
I think I like the under, and I hate it. I hate that I like it.
Yeah.
I think I do. Because what did I say? 31-24. My state school math says 55. Oh, man. Alabama put how many on the Georgia defense? High 30s? 41, somewhere in there?
Yeah.
Man. But with time for Cincinnati and with time for Alabama, Cincinnati plays their asses off. Yeah, I'm going to stick with the under. I hate it. I hate taking unders.
To your point, here's a comment from Michael. Thank you, Michael, for joining us. I think he means Saban and not Carl Sagan. With time to prepare is lethal. And I would agree. And that's part of that's one of those variables that I was referring to. Like everybody knows about Saban, time to prepare, what can happen. So if he goes out there, puts together a game plan and they end up winning by 35, nobody will be surprised by that. Some of us, a great many of us will be disappointed, maybe outside the SEC, but for sure that will not come as any great surprise. So we'll see what this game plan looks like. The other thing that I'll call out, and I've mentioned this before on previous streams and podcasts that we've done, Alabama has this thing where in general, over the course of the year, the first couple drives have not always gone as well. They tend to settle into a game much the way Cincinnati has, to be frank. The deeper they get into it, that's when they get better. But in the early going, when they're running scripted plays and things of that nature, oftentimes they kind of fall short. And so, again, if you're looking at live lines, maybe you like Alabama. If they go 2 drives and don't score, you might be able to get that line at Alabama -10. Something to keep aware of.
Yeah, Bama certainly seems like at a certain point, you have to weather the coming storm. And in previous years during the regular season, they've been that like 21-0 at the drop of a hat, no matter who they're playing, basically. And now it's been a little bit different. You're right. And especially in these spots, they're a little bit a little bit slower to get going, and I don't know who that actually favors. Cincinnati's going to have to match explosion with explosion, and I think they can, especially on the ground. But that's where Alabama seems stronger. Like I like Alabama's secondary. I don't love Alabama's secondary, but on a
Yeah.
certain level, how much does it matter with Will Anderson bearing down on Desmond Ritter, bearing down on this Cincinnati offensive line? And so I think I'm putting myself out there and saying Cincinnati has been sort of disrespected as a team lucky to be there, but I also get it because we're talking about Alabama football. We're talking about Alabama football, and so when you have to start talking yourself into they need these 2, 3, 4 things to bounce their way, it can 8 out of 100 times this game is being simulated or something like that. But man, I can't find it. I can't find it unless the offensive line regresses to where it was in November. If it looks like it did against Georgia, it's almost impossible to see Alabama losing this game. We're still talking about a Cincinnati team, and for all of Alabama's flaws that we've mentioned, Cincinnati and their game against Navy, especially their game against Tulsa, they should have lost to Tulsa. They should have been prevented. That
Yeah.
game should have prevented Cincinnati from even being on the tips of our collective tongues. So that's what is the case against Cincinnati is they have that in them against the Golden Hurricane. It's not amazing.
All right. We've got comments coming in here. Shay asked his wife if she's got any messages for us. She said no. That's okay.
Oh, you have
Dustin,
any messages for Shay's wife?
do I have any? I'll put that back up again. Do we have any messages for Shay's wife?
Do we think Shay's wife is upset at Shay for watching this stream and instead of spending time with Shay, or that Shay isn't spending time with her?
Probably.
Or do we think it's a polite, nah, I'm good. No thanks. Enjoy, Shay.
I would trend towards the former.
Same.
So I don't have any messages.
Okay.
Next message. Love you, dudes and dudettes. Dustin, thank you, sir. We appreciate that.
Is that how you spell dudettes? It's almost like the bidet spelling. Is that dudes?
Dudes?
Dudes
Maybe
and
some sort of
we love
French
you too,
influence
Dustin.
there. Sarah says, is this where I can get the doctor's note that lets me stay home tonight to watch Georgia and Michigan? So while we've got folks, about a half hour before kickoff of the second game, come on back here. Yes. We've got another scheduled live stream that's going to take place around 7-ish, depending on when that first game ends. And we will then, at that point, Sarah, be talking in more detail about Georgia and Michigan, obviously, with some context, knowing who the opponent will be. There are some lines that are out, by the way, early lines.
I want to know what Sarah's plans are that she can't watch Michigan, Georgia.
Yeah, I mean,
sounds like she needs
question.
an excuse. I don't know.
I don't think we are not qualified
Jody's here
to offer that excuse. Solid Wife is fired up.
Yeah.
For this game. All right. What else do we got here? According to ESPN, a Cincinnati win starts with Ritter being a dude. Dan, come on. I am
kind of shocked by that bit of analysis, because from what I can tell, ESPN is sort of more about stunt eating than anything else at this point. That's what I've gathered. The ESPN college football coverage is down to just a lot of stunt eating, dipping things in mayo and waffles and people being doused in mayo. And I don't know. I see a lot of that, eating bananas in weird ways and putting weird things in coffee. So good for ESPN for pivoting to college football coverage. Next.
Sit back tracks. LSU fan here will never, in all caps, root for Alabama. I get that sentiment. I get that sentiment now that you're in the Brian Kelly family.
Family.
But I'm going to post a poll here. I want to get people's read on the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll do it plus 14 Cincinnati. I'll stick with that old line. But I think one of the other things that we like to cover is like, who's the public rooting for? The public, I think, is clearly rooting for Cincinnati here. And the case that I made on our podcast is after a decade plus of hammering on behalf of Boise State and UCF and Coastal Carolina, whoever the group of 5 team du jour is, to have Cincinnati now in this moment and not root for them would be incredibly hypocritical. Like, I'm sorry, Bama fans. I'm sorry, SEC fans. We have to pull for Cincinnati here, don't we?
I think so. Yeah, I think in terms of what SEC fans feel, it's more of a joy in seeing Bama go down than joy in conference success. Because that's another thing. I'm following the wrong people on Twitter. Twitter is just not that fun anymore, and it's just like, the SEC is 0-4, is 5-1, is 2-7. Like, okay, come on, guys. Let's just watch football and enjoy the football for the football's sake. It's very exhaustive, and I would suggest, especially anybody who roots for a team that. Do we know what kind of animal? Like, is a bearcat a feline? I know it's also called a binturong, but I don't know like the genus or the phylum. But I like the idea that LSU fans are rooting for Cincinnati because they find themselves in the broader animal kingdom family. I would love for people to take more pride in mascot, not etymology, taxonomy. I want mascot taxonomy loyalty. Like, I want, as a Duck fan, I don't know who I'm rooting for in the playoff. I know who I'm rooting for because of my marriage, but I don't know who I'm rooting for in terms of other teams. But like, we fly together, Ty. The birds fly together. That's what I want. That's where I want our postseason pride to be centered in. Taxonomy. How about that?
That's a twist for us, a turn. But
so you could only root for human mascots as a Notre Dame fan, but as a Nittany Lion, you can root for Cincinnati. And what a lion is probably the Nittany Lion is probably closer to the Wolverine.
This is the analysis that people are tuning in for sure.
Man, taxonomy.
It's important.
Yeah. All right.
What else do we got here? Another LSU fan can't root for Bama, excuse me, but will be cheering for Georgia. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me. We've got a couple minutes left here. We got about.
By the way, 10 out of 10 cameo appearance from Mr. Pizza Coley, emerging alpha in the comments because of Jody with an eye coming in for. I don't know what she was coming into this bedroom for, but
I'm sure Jody is thrilled that she's now on the internet forever.
Yes.
Let me ask you again to repeat your final score, as we've got about 6-7 minutes left.
I'll go 28-20 is what I'm locking in.
So you're thinking lower scoring.
28-20 Bama, take the under of 57.
I think it's going to be something like 34-23. I think it's going to be right around that number.
Nose? You're picking a push?
I'm picking a push. I guess I am picking a push.
God, Ty.
For the over-under. For the over-under. For the over-under.
Yeah.
But I think for the point spread, I would still be inclined to go Cincinnati. And I will be watching that number like a hawk to see what it does in the early part of the football game.
Oh, man. Okay. Somebody's asking for the New Year's Eve drop, Jimmy Kimmel singing.
I do have that.
If they're ready.
I do have that.
Yeah. There we go.
Will be so awesome, the stars have all
sing it with me, wherever you are.
So match your jerseys and cummerbunds, cause now it's playoff time.
There's more. There's more.
It's playoff time, my dear. It's playoff time. Footballs was fine.
And I'm getting a phone call, which is interesting. And
is that true? Okay.
An apt
from Jody? Is she interrupting you as well?
It's from a California number. So
look
perhaps.
at that. You saw it, by the way. Special rest in peace to Betty White, who passed this morning. Did you see that? 99 years young? Absolute legend and icon. All right. What are you eating during the game, Ty? What is everybody eating? Throw it in the comments.
Have not decided yet, but in all likelihood, it'll be the sort of thing where I run out and do curbside at halftime. To grab something and then come back and watch the remainder of this game. I'm
so hold on. It's 3:30 Eastern. You'll grab dinner around 5 or so to get something in your stomach for the long night ahead with game number 2. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah, I got to see what's open. I tried to get a breakfast burrito, by the way, with friend of the show Ben, and we had to go to a backup breakfast burrito spot here in the San Fernando. It was delicious. Chorizo, egg, crispy hash brown, cheese, charred flour tortilla, some hot sauce, salsa verde. It's wonderful.
We got all sorts coming in here. Gyro platter for
Euros.
Yep. Posty Posterson.
Oh my God.
Tomato bisque. Nathan says chicken noodle soup. Baked ziti for David. Got
Sure.
a whole duck curing in the fridge. Oh my gosh.
As most of
What do
us
we got
do.
here? Making chili for the nice 85-degree weather. I'm turning this off. Who's that guy? Jesse, my neighbor's making me New Year's Eve dinner because I'm in COVID quarantine. Okay, Jesse.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you're okay. What else do we got here? Not sure what I'm eating, but drinking hot chocolate
Wow.
and Baileys.
Did you
Ooh.
see the I think this is Jay Rockstar, right? I think he or she posted that they are in Winnipeg, Manitoba, if we're going to be specific.
And it's negative 35?
Negative 35.
That's very
I was
cold.
in negative 24-ish last winter in the greater Chicagoland area. And it was cartoonishly cold. I had never experienced that. Like I was layered and layered and layered and big over and blah 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 blah, and it was searing ice needles coming at me like blow darts in the jungle. That's what it was like for me, and it was not my favorite day.
What else do we got here?
We got charcuterie board,
charcuterie board, cheese, dried fruit, shrimp, etc. Here we go. Good boy, Kenneth.
Pizza toppings on nachos.
I like it. Here we go. Jay Melty. Chick-fil-A nugget tray, baby. I
That's
like
what I'm
it.
talking about.
Kale.
Yeah.
Steaks with oven-baked mac and cheese tonight for Michigan, Georgia. It sounds good. That sounds good.
How are the steaks being prepared? Are we doing a reverse sear? Are we doing a sous vide? Are we doing straight grill? Are we doing cast iron pan? I want more details here.
Roger Dodger. Air fryer jalapeno poppers. There you go. Okay.
I got made fun of at it might have been a Georgia tailgate. I forget where it was. I had jalapeno poppers thinking they were not going to pop as much as they did. And I had one too many. And I was just chatting with them, drinking whatever Miller Lite or Bud Light they gave me, and saying, so who do you guys think is going to win today? I got a good laugh out of my spicy hiccups. So I have a soft spot for jalapeno poppers. They're delicious, but I got to watch myself. I'm sort of a soft boy with spices sometimes.
All righty. So they are playing the national anthem now.
All right.
At the stadium, we will be back around 7 o'clock-ish to get you ready and hype for the second of two playoff semifinals, that one being between Georgia and Michigan. Don't forget verballers.com. Our Verballer/Patreon Discord server will be, I'm sure, popping off here as we go through the first of these two semifinal games. We will be hanging out from time to time, dropping in, seeing what the fine folks are up to as they watch the game, perhaps doing a little bit of a voice chat on our own.
Yeah.
And then again, we'll be right back here on the YouTube channel, starting at 7 p.m.-ish Eastern time to get you hyped for that second of two semifinal games. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Got a Macho Man Randy Savage. I think we'll just end on that note, Dan. I am ready.
Wonderful. Hey,
Enjoy
go
the
football.
Game. Stay solid.